Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Today me and my team will present about the observation and explanation in science. My name is NAJAH BINTI KAMARUDIN. Firstly, I will explain the definition of observation. So let's take a look. The definition of observation consists of receiving knowledge of the outside world through our sense or recording information using scientific tools and instruments. Any data recorded during an experiment can be called as an observation. For example, a scientist who is looking at a chemical reaction in an experiment, it can call as observation. Besides that, a chef who watching his roast in the oven to make sure the roast is already cooked or not. It is also an observation. So there are two types of observation, which is quantitative and qualitative. What is quantitative and qualitative? Okay. Quantitative observation is an objective collection of data which is primarily focused on number and values. Results of quantitative observation are derived using statistical and numerical analysis method, which is the quantitative observation is only focused on the numbers, and that's something that you can be measured. Okay, and the result will be in numerical value. For example, in this picture, you can see that there are 5 frogs here because you can count it 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it would be a quantitative observation because you can give it a numerical value. Okay, for qualitative observation deals with data that can be observed with our sense, such as sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. They do not involve any measurements or number. For instance, colors, shape, and textures of objects. For example, we use our eyes for the vision, we use our ears for the hearing, we use our nose for the smell, and we use our tongue to taste, and we use our hand or any part of our body to touch. Okay, this is the example for the qualitative observation. So from the picture given, what do you guys can observe? Okay, first, we can observe that the color of the leaf are green, and the leaf also have pointed tips, and the fruit is in orange color and somewhat the orange is in the shape of oval. All of these are qualitative observations, and we use our sense of sight by using our eyes to see and make some observation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, I'm FAIQAH NABIHAH binti KAMSIN. Next, I will explain the role of observation in science. Observation allows the researcher to study people in their natural setting without their behavior being influenced by the presence of a researcher. Observation data usually consists detailed information about particular groups or situations. This kind of data can fill out and provide a deeper and richer understanding than survey work, which tends to produce less detailed information about a larger number of people. Some methods only allow for the study one individual at a time. Observation enables the researcher to study groups of people and also the interaction between the members of a group. Next, the characteristic of scientific observation. Here, I have stated 3 characteristics. First, observation is a systematic method. Observation is not haphazard or unplanned. The length of observation period, the interval between them, the number of observations, the area or situation of observations, and various techniques used for observation are carefully planned. Second, observation is specific. It is not just looking around for general aspects of human behavior. Rather, it is directed at those specific aspects of total situations which are assumed to be significant from the standpoint of the purpose of the study. Finally, observation is objective. Observation should be objective and free from bias as far as possible. It should generally be guided by a hypothesis. The observer must maintain the ethical neutrality. Now, we will look at the advantages of observation in science. Number 1. Observation is the simplest method. Observation is probably the most common and the simplest method of data collection. It does not require much technical knowledge, although scientific control observation requires some technical skills of the researcher. Still, it is easier than other methods. Number 2. Observation is useful for framing hypotheses. Observation is one of the main bases of formulating hypotheses. By observing a phenomenon continuously, the researcher may get well acquainted with the observed. Number 3. Observation have great accuracy. In observation, the observer can directly check the accuracy from the observed. He can apply various devices to test the reliability of their behavior. So, very often the data collected through observation is more reliable than those collected through interview or questionnaire. In the opposite of advantages, there are disadvantages of observation in science. Therefore, here 3 disadvantages of observation in science. Firstly, some of the occurrences may not be open to observation. There are many personal behaviors and secret activities which are not open for observation. In most of the cases, people do not allow the outsider to study their activities. Secondly, personal bias of the observer. The personal bias, the personal view, or looking at things and in a particular way often creates obstacle for making generalization. The observer may have his own ideas of right or wrong, or he may have different preconceptions regarding an event which kills the objectivity in social research. Last but not least, difficulty in checking validity. Checking the validity of observation is always difficult. Many of the phenomena observation cannot be defined with sufficient precision and does not help in drawing a valid generalization. The lack of competence of the observer may hamper validity and reliability of observation.
Okay, observation also have their tools and recording device. For the 4 above here, there are the observation tools, and the 3 down below is the recording device for observation. We can use barometer for measure the air pressure, and we can use the ruler for measure distance. We can use thermometer to measure temperature, and we can use scale to measure weight. And we can use camera to record an image. We can use video recorder to record and play back a video, and we can use tape recorder to record an audio. Actually, there are lots observation tools and recording devices other than this. So this is some of them. Some of the observation tools and recording devices that can be used to make an observation. So next, I will pass to my partner, which is Azam. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is AZAMUDDIN bin AZMAN. I will present you about explanation in science. First, a scientific explanation uses observation and measurement to explain something we see in the natural world. Secondly, scientific explanation should match the evidence and be logically, or they should at least match as much of the evidence as possible. To make it clear, I give you one example of explanation, which is why we do need to sleep. If we do an observation and experimentation, we will gain a knowledge and the data about sleep. So, we can see that there are a logical evidence that can be explained. Firstly, because our body are being used for whole day for working or studying. So our body will get tired and our brain also get tired. So we need to get a rest. How to get a rest? By doing sleep. So here is some example. As a result, after we wake up from sleep, we manage to get a freshness. So we move on to the second slide, which is type of explanation. Actually, there are many types of explanation, but I managed to get 3 types of explanation. Firstly is historical explanation. Second is functional explanation. Third is methodology explanation. So we go to the first explanation. It is a device that enables one to follow the sequence of event or an act of given reason where an act occurs. Historical explanation shows the significance of the event by showing the connection. Historical explanations are intended to show that the event in question are coincident by showing, but are expected to be reviewed from previous or simultaneous situation by showing the condition and result of those conditions. So historical explanation like today or current event might be happened for a year ago or decades ago. So it might be connection or it might be a same case. So we go to functional explanation. Functional explanation are kind of explanation offered in natural and social science. In providing this explanation, researchers draw attention to the function possessed by the structure or system. This type of explanation are paying attention or more focused to the system or structure. But as example, biology might say kidney has the function to eliminate a waste product from the bloodstream. Or a sociology might say the purpose of monogamy is to preserve the family structure. So here we can see this relate to a function believed belong to a structure or a system. So next, methodology explanation. Methodology explanation contains information about statistical survey, data collection, methodology, complex statistics, and other methodological material. It's like we do an research by doing data collection, survey, or interview, so that the evidence or the data we can use as a explanation.
Assalamualaikum, I'm NAJAH, and now I want to present about the role of explanation in science. First, explanation is used to predict to a similar event in the future. For example, on rainy day, the road is slippery and it was predicted that the accident more occur rather than on other weather. So the driver suggested to drive more carefully on rainy day. Second, it's used to make a diagnosis. In this, we can see, for example, the car got stuck in mud. So you had several methods to getting out of the mud. When finally succeed, you try to come up with an explanation for the succeeded method so that the method can be used in the future. Third, to justify or rationalize an action. Okay, in this, usually we can see if you drive a car with over speed limit, you will got summon from the authorities. This summon is actually a warning so that after this, you will more careful drive the car and follow the rules that are given from the authorities. Okay, next slide. I put a picture where a man who was not wearing any protection from bee sting. So from that, you want to know which part of body that feel the pain at most. So you can come up with a scientific explanation, because in scientific explanation have three components, which is the first, the claim. The claim is answer or conclusion to the scientific question. Second, evidence. Evidence is something that the data, scientific data that support the claim. Third, reasoning. Reasoning is explain why the evidence support the claim and providing a logical connection between the evidence and the claim. From the previous situation or picture that I show to you, you want to know which part of body that feel pain at most. So the claim from the man is the nostril is most painful, while upper lip is second most painful. So you cannot just take his claim. You need to you need to find an evidence from that claim. So the evidence, one of the evidence that you can take is you give him scale 1 to 10 and how much pain that he feel at the nostril and upper lips. And that after that, the man said on the nostril he feel 9 out of 10 and upper lips 8 out of 10. So the pain level is not same, but it's quite high because it's nearly to 10. And after that, you come up with the reasoning why he feel pain at most at nostril and upper lips. He feel more painful at that part. It is because the pain more intense at the thinner skin. So that's why he feel more painful at that part, because that part he have thinner skin compared to other parts. Okay. The characteristic of scientific explanation contain 4 characteristics, which is the first one, use normothetic method or idiographic method. Normothetic method is making generalization or establishing universal law. This method usually we use during experiment. In contrast, idiographic method provide a knowledge of one particular event which is maybe unique. This method usually used in case study. For example, there are 2 people who are social scientists and historians who study about a war. The scientist might try explain about common to war so that he can develop general theory of intersocietal conflict, while historians study individual war and try to chronicle and explain the event and condition that caused the war. He or she generally does not interested in scientific theory of what may be common to the all war. Second, involve the accurate and precise measurement of phenomenon, which is the content of the something that they want to explain is based on the situation, based on specific, is not made from the general thing. Okay. The third one is not based on the value, opinion, attitude or belief of the researcher, which is they use their sense to make the claim, like in explanation, and the evidence, what they see, what they feel. Then the third one is you use the scientific theory or law to make an explanation. The fourth is very explicit about the unit, which is refer to the relationship between the proposition, which is in reasoning we give the suitable reasons that related from the the claim and the evidence. Okay, next I will explain about the advantages of explanation, which is easy to get solution, improvement to the solution, being guidance to solve the solution. Okay, the explanation we can get easy to get the solution because we can apply the explanation from the previous event to the similar event, and we can make improvement to the solution, because sometimes the solution need to we need to alter the solution and being a guidance to the solution, which is the solution, the problem might different, but we can use the solution as a guidance so that we can solve the solution. But there are also have disadvantages in explanation, which is we give another problem to the similar event. It is because sometimes we just apply what we got solution from the previous event, which is sometimes the event might contain not same situation to the previous, and it might give other problem to us. Second, wrong diagnosis, which is the situation quite same but there are a little difference, and we make same diagnosis have quite different characteristic of the situation, and we diagnose it based on this we compare with the previous situation, and it may lead to wrong diagnosis. And lastly is misunderstanding, which is for example the summon, I give the example from previous slide. Okay, the summon that we get from the authorities, some people have misunderstanding about that. They think that the government only want to take granted from someone to take money from community, while it is actually to warning, to give a more like guide to us so that we will follow the law after this.
So, explanation tools. Scientific explanation tools provide students with a framework for building a comprehensive scientific explanation, evidence and reason to support their idea, a feature of scientific reasoning. We can use the data that we gain from other sources to form a conclusion or state a claim. The explanation tool has 5 basic parts. Firstly, the question that student or we are trying to answer, or the problem that we want to solve. By doing science experiment, we need to answer the question. The question that we test in science can be answered by doing experiment or investigation, or can be like observation. Second, the evidence that students gather or we gather. We may collect a lot of data, but it might be some of the data will not help. Data is the evidence to help answer the question. For third, reasoning. In this part, we need to explain why the evidence help answer the question. The reasoning is a justification that logically links the answer to the question to the evidence. For the fourth, claim or claims. A claim should make a statement that can answer the question or address the original problem, may be in form of trend and behavior. Number 5, the scientific explanation. This is the most important part. We need to write a logical explanation that includes claims that support with evidence and reasoning. After we do an observation, we will do an explanation. By doing explanation, after that normally we will start with inference or hypothesis. And after test rigorously, we'll manage to explain with theory and law. So this I will explain a little bit about 4 things: inference, hypothesis, theory and law. Firstly, inference. The reasoning involved in drawing a conclusion or making a logical judgment on the basis of circumstantial evidence and prior conclusion rather than on the basis of direct observation. An inference is an idea or conclusion that drawn from evidence and reasoning. Secondly is hypothesis, a tentative insight into the natural world, a concept that is not yet verified but that is true explain fact or phenomena. A hypothesis is an idea or explanation which then tests through study and experimentation, which this hypothesis might be true or wrong. Third is a theory. Theory is a belief that can guide behavior. Actually, theory is an idea system intended to explain something, especially based on a generous principle that does not depend on what is to be explained. Theory is such like a belief, but it not be proven yet. Fourth is law. Law are description, often mathematical description of natural phenomenon. For example, Newton's law of gravity or Mendel's law of independent assortment. This law simply describe the observation, not how or why they work. As example, the durian fall down from tree, but it's not going up. This is why, because this is a law, because it describes the things in nature has been observed in certain circumstances. That's all from me.